Hey everyone, it's Ethan or Miist back again for another video. Welcome back to the channel, guys. We're here again for yet another one. Today we're going to be going through every movie I watched last week. Don't know why I just switched up the intro, but I was struggling to do it anyways. That was my third attempt. So, yeah, say hi to Betty before we get into it. My sweet girl, who's kind of evil sometimes, but... You say hi? I don't think she's interested. Alright, let's hop into it, starting it off with my least favorite of 15 movies watched last week, which was Kraven the Hunter, which I did not enjoy. It's definitely one of my least favorite of the Sony Spider-Man villain universe. And yeah, I just really didn't enjoy anything from this movie, really, except for the fact that I get to look at Aaron Taylor Johnson for 2 hours. I like the ending where he gets the comic accurate suit, but literally just about everything else I did not care about. I like seeing Ariana DeBose in the cast, but she was really awful in this movie, and yeah, those are kind of my notes. 21 out of 100. Did not enjoy it really at all. So let's move on to She's All That, which actually these were my last two movies of the week. She's All That is something that Mel and I have both wanted to watch for a long time, because last year I believe we had watched He's All That, which I had never seen, but I believe Mel had seen, and neither of us have ever seen the original of She's All That. So nice to actually get this off the watch list. It's a really, it's so much better than the new one, but it's still not anything special. I was a little scared to look at the average rating for this movie after watching it, because I didn't really enjoy it, but I didn't really dislike it. You know, I just thought it was a super okay, fine, middle-of-the-road movie. And honestly, I guess the average kind of reflects that as well, because I think it only has like a 3.0. Now, I can understand if you like this. I don't, I wouldn't argue that, but yeah, it was just all right, and it was nice to see Paul Walker, who was absolutely shredded in this movie as well. Rest in peace to Paul Walker. Let's move on to Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, which is actually one of my themes of the week. I decided to have a bit of a Jake Gyllenhaal week, because I've really not gone through a lot of Jake Gyllenhaal's filmography, and I think he is one of the best or one of the best actors working today, I should say. And I really wanted to see him in more things, because there's a lot of things I have not seen him in. And he's also in a lot, but not in a lot. So I don't even know how many Jake Gyllenhaal movies I ended up watching this week. There's a few. We'll go through them though. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time was an okay movie. I ranked it a 59 out of 100. It felt just kind of similar to some of the Mummy movies, where it's just this kind of style of I don't even know how to describe it, ancient. I don't even know. I don't know how to describe or what this genre is considered, but I don't think it's really a genre for me. Now, I did enjoy the first Mummy, but the rest of them I didn't enjoy, and I feel like Prince of Persia kind of falls into similar territory. It's quite a far-fetched plot, but there's some decent action, and I like our leads. It's a decent cast as well. Yeah, 59 out of 100. Let's move on to Donnie Darko, which I ranked a 62 out of 100, and this is actually a movie I rewatched, and something I've been wanting to rewatch for quite some time now. When I first started ranking movies back in 2022, I did watch this movie, and I had it ranked an 84 out of 100 at a 4-star rating, and that has since gone down quite a lot. Obviously, as you can see, it's now a 62 out of 100. I don't really think this movie's very special at all. It's kind of hard to follow at times. It's quite weird. And truthfully, I didn't love rewatching it. Really, the only thing I got a decent amount of enjoyment from this is Jake Gyllenhaal's tremendous performance. It's nice to see him at a younger age acting as well. And really, I find one of the best parts about this movie is just seeing who shows up, because this is kind of a crazy cast and it's quite wild, and there's just a few basically different cameos, which were just kind of fun. But yeah, overall, I don't know, this was kind of a disappointing rewatch, so 62 out of 100 for Donnie Darko. Let's move on to yet another theme of the week, which was Bong Joon-ho's filmography. I've started it, and I'll hopefully finish it this upcoming week, starting with The Host, which was my least favorite, or is my least favorite of his filmography so far, which I ranked a 67 out of 100. I didn't think it was bad by any means. It's quite an interesting movie, actually, and I had kind of not low expectations, but I kind of had, like, I don't know, I wasn't really sure what to expect heading into this movie, just because I was kind of expecting this to be like a, Korean Godzilla film, and I was so wrong. I just couldn't have been more wrong. Bong Joon-ho has really layered films with a lot of different themes throughout. This one is very interesting with some of the themes it tackles. Mostly, from every movie I've seen so far of his, there's a lot about classism, especially classism in Korea, or maybe even Asia in general, I guess. But there's quite a lot of really interesting subject matter throughout all of Bong Joon-ho's films that I've seen so far. So that was nice to see. And this is obviously a bit more of a sci-fi thriller with also the monster movie in it. The CGI wasn't great by any means, but it wasn't awful. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. And for 2006, it wasn't too bad. I'm sure I'll see worse, Overall, I ranked this a 67 out of 100. I had a decent time with it, and I enjoyed it. Well, let's move on to Brothers, which, again, Jake Gyllenhaal, and actually, this is a movie I've wanted to watch for a long time, because I remember I used to see clips of the freak out in the third act with Tobey Maguire, and it's probably one of Tobey's best acting pieces in his filmography, which is why I've always wanted to watch this movie, and it just helps that Jake Gyllenhaal's there, kind of what, like I said, went through a Jake Gyllenhaal week, and I had a decent time with this one as well. Thought it was pretty impressive, seeing the different themes of how war changes a man. Actually, there's quite a lot of war movies in this week, now that I think about it. But yeah, how war changes a man, how prison can change a man, and actually how getting out of prison, getting out of the war can change a man as well, and how some men actually feel safer while they're away fighting for their country, which is very interesting. There's a lot of important themes tackled in this movie, and I definitely think it's worth a watch. I ranked it a 68 out of 100. Let's move on to End of Watch, which was a pretty interesting movie. Again, Jake Gyllenhaal, and I really had a good time with this movie, mostly because of the buddy cop humor comedy throughout this film with Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena, who I really enjoyed them together. They had wonderful chemistry together, and it's a pretty tragic and raw story of what I guess what LA kind of looks like. LA is a big city, and it's a busy city, and I think this movie kind of shows that. There's a lot of fucked up shit going on, and like I said, it's a really raw and powerful film, and again, it's one that I'd recommend. This is a very interesting film, and it has some good action, it has some good comedy. Now, the filmmaking itself, it might be hard for some people to get into, because a lot of it's like found footage film style, which could be hard to get into, and I get that. I personally enjoyed it. I didn't really mind it, but it's not for everyone, and I know that. So, 72 out of 100 for End of Watch. Let's move on to Jarhead. Sam Mendes movie that I've been wanting to watch to finish his filmography. I still have one more of his films that I really want to go through. And again, Jake Gyllenhaal, so it was just kind of perfect. This was a very interesting take on a war film that I've never seen before. And it's all about these soldiers that are eager to go to war for different reasons. and about these soldiers that have no desire to be serving their country, and that they just wait. And they continue to wait, and they wait, and they wait, and they wait, eventually for nothing to happen. And it's very interesting. Like I said, I've never seen that kind of thing in film, that kind of take on war and how much that affects the people that are there fighting for their country, and that they're just waiting for something to happen, and and sometimes nothing ever happens, and it's interesting to think about, So, again, I enjoy this movie. Sam Mendes is really just super fantastic. I think he's just wonderful at making movies, and this, especially in like the last half of the movie, the cinematography in this movie was beautiful. There were some really beautiful and tragic shots in the desert, so it was pretty cool. And overall, I enjoyed this movie. 73 out of 100. Well, let's move on to yet another war film starring Jake Gyllenhaal, which is Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. I haven't seen a lot of Guy Ritchie's filmography. I've seen a few movies, but this one I quite enjoyed. I ranked it a 76 out of 100. I see this doesn't have really a bad average rating. I think it was a 3.6 or a 3.4, which is pretty solid. But I've seen a lot of people actually have a lot of complaints about this movie. I had a wonderful time with this movie, mostly because I think our two leads, and Jake Gyllenhaal and Dar Salim, were incredible throughout the entire film. And I thought there were some really awesome action scenes. The cinematography was really great. I thought this was a really beautiful movie to look at. And to be honest, this might turn out to be one of my favorite scores because I absolutely fell in love with the score in this movie. It was a really poignant and kind of crippling score that I really, really enjoyed. And it's kind of a horrific score, but I really enjoyed it, and I'd recommend this movie to just about anyone. I really enjoyed this movie. 76 out of 100. Alright, let's keep going. Up next to Brokeback Mountain, which is actually how I started my week, which I ranked it a 78 out of 100. To be fair, this movie's quite slow, and it felt a little long at times, but overall, the best parts about this movie is, of course, the acting between Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger. Rest in peace. And I think this also tackles some very important themes for a lot of men, specifically, that are fighting how do I say this? Are fighting what they may feel, and some men do not, will not, and does not want to accept the fact that they may be attracted to the same sex. And I think that seeing that kind of affecting people differently, where there's someone that really wants that, and then there's someone that doesn't want that and is scared of that, I think it's a very good parallel. And again, I think that's a very important issue where I think a lot of people would enjoy this movie for that. And I would recommend Brokeback as well. I would like to rewatch it because I didn't get to watch it in one sitting. I kind of watched it in like 3 separate sittings throughout the day, so maybe that kind of hinders my review a little bit, but still, I had a decent time with it. 78 out of 100. Let's move on to now the top 5. I kind of want to roll through this. This is already going to be a long video. So, top 5. Up next, In the Shadow of the Cypress, which I ranked at 80 out of 100. This just won animated feature or animated short film of the year at the Oscars, which is why I wanted to watch this movie. It's only about 24 minutes, which I found on YouTube. You guys can go check it out. It's another war film. Actually, wow, I didn't even realize how much of a theme that was for this week. Anyways, and this one's quite a different perspective on war as well. Really, the visual storytelling of a man who is suffering from PTSD, that is struggling to be with loved ones and is struggling to be alone, but he doesn't, it seems like he's just fighting with himself because of his past and the stuff that he's seen and the stuff that he's done and the stuff that he's fought for. And again, it's a very interesting piece of art, truthfully. And this was a great short film. It's probably one of my favorite short films I've seen, actually. 80 out of 100. Let's move on to the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which I have now raised up to an 84 out of 100. This is one of Mel's favorite movies. We ended up watching it this week with some friends. This is the third time Mel and I have watched it together now, and it just keeps going up. It went from a 78 to an 82, and then this time an 82 to an 84. Excuse me. So I wonder if it's going to continue to grow. I just really enjoyed this movie, and it's a lot of fun. And although I don't think the cast is the best, I just have a great time with this movie, and I really enjoy it. Plus, it looks fantastic with the Philips Hue lights, might I add. Alright, let's move on to the top 3, starting it off with Okja, which this is one of the first movies of the week that I watched, and this was also one of the saddest movies. Actually, I cried to 2 different movies this week, now that I think about it. This is truthfully one of the most I've ever cried to a movie, though. The end of the movie, like the last 15 minutes of the movie, had me in absolute tears and shambles. I was on my lunch at work, literally covering my face like this so people wouldn't see me crying, because I was sobbing. Like, I was letting down waterfalls. It was bad. It probably looked really bad, too. And I was in rough shape. This movie destroyed me, but I also had a very great time with it, which, obviously, I ranked it a 91 out of 100, and it really is special. The impact this movie just had on me is quite interesting, because it genuinely made me consider actually turning into a vegan, just because I just fear for the lives of animals after watching this movie, and it makes me really sad, and it's just hard. It's hard to think about, and I try not to think about that stuff, but this movie made me think about it. So, anyways, I'd recommend Okja, but it's not for the faint of heart, especially if you don't like seeing animals in harm. There's a bit of that, unfortunately. Well, let's move on to my second favorite watch of the week, which was Parasite, which I'm so glad to have finally taken this off the watch list, because this is something I've been wanting to watch for a very, very long time, and I think this is a movie that needs to be rewatched multiple times to really get everything that's coming from this movie, because this might be the most layered movie I've ever seen in my life. There might be more themes and I guess layers to this movie than I've ever seen in any other movie before. This was really fantastic, and truthfully, I can't add anything to the conversation that hasn't already been said before, but this movie is masterful. It's truthfully one of the best made movies I've ever seen. Although it's not my favorite movie ever, obviously I rank movies based on how much I enjoyed them. I ranked it a 92 out of 100. I really did enjoy this movie. So, again, I'm really excited to rewatch this at some point, because, again, I feel like this is a movie that needs to be rewatched multiple times for you to truly get everything from it and understand everything from it and love everything from it, because it's amazing. It really, really is amazing. Yeah. And let's move on to my favorite watch of the week, which was The Iron Claw, which I finally get to show Mel. We had a great sobbing to this movie last night, which, man, this movie hurts me so much. Staying at the 100 out of 100, it's now my 4th time watching it, and like I said, I'm glad I was able to show Mel, because it was something that we both wanted to watch together before, and it's a really emotional film, and this time I cried to different parts, and I cried probably more than I ever have, actually, to this film. So, like I said, it was a bit of an emotional week, and I don't exaggerate when I say I cry. Like, I genuinely cry. Like, I was sobbing at the end of Okja and at the end of Iron Claw, so, yeah. Anyways, thank you guys all so much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.